The most prestigious Czech and Slovak virtual racing series is back. 20 of the best drivers from Czechia and Slovakia. 12 races at some of the most famous circuits in the world. Who is going to become the new champion? This is the Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP 2022 season. Hello and welcome back to the Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP 2022 season. We're 2 races into this year's championship already, and it's looking like it might be the most hotly contested season of all time. And we're going to make things even more exciting by heading to the Hungaroring for the first time in 6 years. My name is Justin Sutton, and joining me today it is, of course, Chris Buxton.
Back in European territory for the Hungaroring, a really tricky circuit, and look at that, Lucas Buxton really stamping his authority on the top spot, but Martin Nadling with a stunning win last time out, taking second in the championship standings, with Martin Stefanko just nudged down to third. But look at the fighting we got all the way through the field. The Benzine are all in pair, struggling to get off the mark at the moment, but many races still to go, with many points still up for offer. This should be absolutely fantastic. Team-wise, yeah, it's a little bit one-sided at the moment for ERT with the Buxton brothers, but Stefanko and Korony hanging on to that top spot. Lenovo Legion right there in third, but you did not expect to see Entropic, the champion team with the champion driver, falling to fourth so early on. Bit of a struggle for Mr. Podstarter. Glorious sunshine here in Hungary, very warm track temperature, 45 degrees, and this track needs a lot of braking and turning, as you can see by the map, so tyre management is definitely going to be key.
Ooh, Lucas Buxton takes pole position alongside Martin Stefanko. So one of the Buxton brothers on the front row, but then Martin Stefanko joins him. Martin Nadling, recent race winner, on the second row of the grid alongside the other Buxton brother of David, who lines up in fourth, 7/10 off, and ahead of Lucas Buxton, who again struggles, just narrowly beating out his teammate Martin Sirotek as well. Lehman and Vizzy also featuring on the fourth row of the grid, so they're going to be right there in it. In the top 10, Hora and Bruna, Krejci and Korony as well on row 6, a little bit further back. That's about 1.5 seconds off the pace. Then we got Maricek and Sheps, Svoboda and Shembera down on the 8th row of the grid. Shembera in the Navitel. And then bringing up the rear, Hermak and Kiesel, Urbanchik and Stepanovsky at the back, 2.7 seconds off the pace. But Stepanovsky definitely going to be one who goes better in the race, I would think.
Yeah, completely. Now, this track is narrow. I mean, you really get an idea of it from that helicam shot. It is not wide. Even in these DD3 cars, it is very hard to overtake. But if anybody can do it, it's our incredible gladiatorial sim racers can get the job done. Lucas is keen to get on with it. He was almost trying to overtake the safety car. It's truth of life. It's only a parts formation lap this time. We're already coming into the final turn, so we don't have to do an entire lap of this circuit. We'd be here a while. Yeah, wow, Jan Brunner from Navitel right up there in 10th. What a great effort for him. Really strong qualifying for him. Pace car comes in. We're ready to rock and roll here in Hungary.
Yeah, preparing to go racing, and of course, it is going to be the ERT that leads the way. Lucas Pichata, he's going to have a couple of very quick drivers looking to get ahead of him at the start of this race, because of course overtaking is going to be at a premium, and we are a go. And it looks like a good start for the ERT. The Lenovo Legion car falling back a little bit. David Pichata with a fantastic start is going to make a bid for second place into turn 1. He's definitely got a nose in there on the outside, and I think he's just about going to do it. No, he's going to have the inside line on the run down towards turn 2. Great start for Lucas. David, but with an even better start though, up into second position. If he could just about make it alongside Stefenko with that inside line, but Stefenko is fighting it as hard as he can. He doesn't do it. Not quite. David Pichata up 2 positions at the start of this race. That's incredible.
David Pichata, take a bow. He was listening to me saying it's difficult to overtake. He was like, oh, really? Yeah, no one told me that. He just stormed through. Wow, did he get the run very, very well off the start. Oh, that's very busy. The Lenovo Legion car has fallen to the tail end of the field. Oh, no, it's so easy to do with the field really condensed. I did say the track is narrow. And, of course, everybody's going to be vying for available track position. Very, very easy to dip a wheel onto the grass, and that is what the Lenovo Legion legend has done. Oh,
and
another
that's
one.
Sheps. Yeah, Sheps has lost it as well too. That's I think around maybe turn 8, 9. Yeah, I think that's going into 8, between 7 and 8, and that's going to drop him back significantly. He's going to be 20 seconds off of the leader at this stage, and in fact may have even head back into the pits. The damage may have been so bad. No, he is continuing on. Good to see that he's continuing on. Vizzy is continuing on as well. Remember, he started from the 4th row of the grid. He was round about where Thomas Hora and Michael Lehman are now at the start of this race. Thanks to his decent qualifying position, but unfortunately he's going to be having to fight his way through the traffic to even get back into the points. Remember, the top 15 score points here at the Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP, and at the moment though it's looking like ERT. Remember, we were talking about that ERT gap in the team's championship coming into this race, and it looks like they are going to be possibly extending that even further if they can hold on to these 2 positions here, Chris.
I'm still getting over David Pichata's start. That was absolutely stunning. So yeah, this is absolutely dream territory for ERT. And David Pichata hasn't quite had the pace to be able to match his brother Lucas for a while, and this would very much seem to be, you know, maybe this is his opportunity to shine as we now look at the champion pod starter. So he's on the back of race winner last time out, Martin Nadling, as we see the very battered Benzina Ronenkarov Sheps now into the pits. He'd hit the wall pretty hard. Around about here is where he'd done it. Yep. So that was a big shame for him. Martin Nadling really getting to grips with the Mercedes, as we saw last time out at Daytona, taking a comparatively comfortable win in the darkness at the Oval. But yeah, David Pichata just 8/10 off the back of his teammate with a lot of angry lights staring at him. Now, as we've said before, this track is narrow, it's difficult to overtake. However, these cars are not afraid to kind of get their elbows out. You can get the side-to-side contact. I suspect that's what we're going to be seeing, is people having to force their way through, not necessarily just rely on the mistake. We'll see more of that kind of pressure deliverance techniques when we get to the single-seaters later in the season. But with these things, expect a fair amount of door banging and paint trading. So this is what happened with Eric Vizzy. He's next to one of the big shot cars and one of the Navitels. Oops, and there we go. So he was just a tiny tap, couldn't quite hold it. Oh, that was actually that was a turn 4 where that happened. So unless he had a separate spin, as it did look like it was turn 8 where he had the incident where we picked him up. But yeah, he was just nudged at the tail. But he's carried on. Shouldn't be any significant damage. He's already caught back up to the Carvago car of Svoboda, so could well still get into the fight later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, he's gotten ahead of Stepanovsky. Yeah, because Sheps was the one that had that incident, so he's gotten ahead of Stepanovsky. And I think it was Bruna where that slight contact took place. But I don't know. I think that might have been a racing incident. We'll have to see how the stewards feel about that one. But yeah, it's an unfortunate incident for him. That's dropped him out of the points. But on the bright side, it means we get to see him get those elbows out, and get the fight on. We'll get to see him make some overtakes. Should make for some good highlights as well after the race is over. The many overtakes of Eric Vizzi. So we'll keep an eye on that. Sheps is still in the pit lane, by the way. It seems that his damage is quite significant. I'm not sure if he's going to call it a day or whatnot, but he's still in the pits as it stands right now. Lucas Pichota still leads the way as David Pichota moves to the right-hand side on the start-finish straight. It looks like he just wants to break the toe on Stefanko, and this is exactly what happened with Sheps. He's alongside the Carvago car. This is coming into the chicane there. That's the 6 and 7 chicane. Carvago car goes around the outside. He moves back onto the line. And there was just another car there, unfortunately, and I think, again, that may just be another racing incident. I don't know if anybody's actually to blame for any of the incidents that we've seen. Stefanko was not able to get past David Pichota, so that defensive maneuver to the inside line into turn one was enough for David Pichota to hold on. But I'm not sure how much slipstream he's going to be getting here. You don't get much slipstream here at the Hungaroring, but what little slipstream you can get becomes that much more important, of course. Oh, Urbanchik.
Urbanchik in the Puma car has gone for a spin somewhere. That's turn 3, it would seem. Yes, it is. So he's had a bit of trouble there. Yeah, I'm not so thinking that second one that we saw with Sheps was so much a racing incident. I feel that was, I believe that was Michael Shimbera of the Navitel squad. Both the Navitel cars seemingly nudging a Benzini car each, I think. Yeah, I'm not so certain. Oh no, beg your pardon. It was Lenovo Legion's Vizzi that got nudged by Bruno, we think.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Shimbera. Yeah, I think he went for a bit of an optimistic move coming out of that 6-7 chicane. No, that was never on in my mind, but the stewards are the ones that decide whether anything is good or not. As we see, look at that, Lucas Pichota now really breaking away. And here is what happened to Urbanchik, and this is the Puma car. What's happened? So this is turn 3. Has he just... Yeah... Oh. That was a bit of an odd one. I mean, he must have locked up going into that, because that looked fairly straightforward. He must have just been slightly too late on the brakes. And as there's the nose dips, of course, then the tail gets a little bit light and round it went. It was a bit of an unforced error, but I suspect he was tiny bit too late on the brakes. And the tail just locked up on him and round it went, but it's no damage, and he'll just carry on. Obviously dropped him a little bit off the back of the field. There's the aerial shot here of the battle for second position. David Pichota still leading this particular conga line. Martin Stefanko right behind Martin Nadlik, and then the two Entropic cars right behind.
David Pichota with I don't know, the car seemed a little unsettled at the exit of turn 4 there. I think we just kind of caught it as he was catching it, but possibly just fighting the car ever so slightly more than his brother. But he hasn't fallen off the back. He's still maintaining that 1.5 second gap, but I don't think that's quite enough to be picking up any sort of slipstream or anything like that. So I'm not sure if he's going to be picking up any sort of benefit on the start-finish straight, or indeed on this medium-length straight in between turns 11 and 12 is another location where you can gain just a little bit of time, where, it's great to actually gain a little bit of time there because, of course, you want to get close coming out of the final corner. This is the penultimate corner. You have that very long left and then into a very long right, sort of almost like a yin-yang, but with a wider radius on the final corner, so it's slightly faster compared to the penultimate corner. And there he goes again, David Pichota, and I think that's proof positive, actually, that he's not getting any sort of slipstream, because if he were, I don't think he'd be moving over to the right like that.
No, indeed, he's too far back to make any slipstream. Round about 8/10 is where you want to be. That's very early into the pits as well for the Navitel car. Jan Brunner, who we think has been involved. I think he was the one who was involved in that nudge with Eric Vizzi. That looked like a drive-through to me, so he could have actually jumped the start, because he's back out on track, but now down into 16th place. Or initially is a lot of people taking or potentially going into the pits very, very early, or they're that's either lag or they're cutting over the pit lane entry line, hence why the pit symbol is appearing and disappearing like that. But Brunner seemed to go through the pit lane there, so may well have had a drive-through penalty. Either way, is now down in 15th position as we see this there it is. It was oh, that's the other one. So that's Chambera. So that'll be for the incident with who did he hit? I've completely forgotten. Sheps. It was so that'll be that incident. So the Stewards...
Who is back out now, by the way.
He is indeed back out, so he was in there for 4 laps, and it is always worth doing. You never know what could happen. Like, for instance, if David Pichada has an incident, there's a lot of cars that could right behind him that could easily be caught up in it.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's good to see that he's still in it. I'm not sure how well he's going to be lapping, but we could absolutely see 5 retirements, and he could just inherit a championship point or more potentially. As Dave Pichada doing it, going over to the right-hand side, getting a lot of deja vu every time they come back onto the start-finish straight. Very similar sort of image as as one of the 2 ERTs moves over to the right-hand side, followed by the ESET, the Lenovo, the 2 Entropics. A bit of a gap has started to form after Sirotech, actually. You can see that just in the background there. Michael Lehman has fallen off the back of the 2 Entropic cars ever so slightly. It's just over 1 second currently. And then Thomas Hora doing a great job of keeping up to the back of Michael Lehman, who was really one of the stars of the 2021 season, if you ask me. And Hora is one of those drivers that we've said before, has always kind of been a solid points runner, who we think can possibly challenge for podiums and stuff like that, but has just maybe lacked a little bit of consistency. So, and then Corney right there with them as well. So that group of 3 running very, very tightly, less than a second between all of them. And then you've got the battle for second, and then of course Lucas Pichada breaking away ever so slightly, doing what we would have seen quite a bit of last year from himself, from Podstada, from the champion as well too. But yeah, extending that gap to 1.8 seconds as we've just recently, a couple minutes ago, moved past the 25% distance point of this race here at the Hungaroring. Back here for the first time in 6 years, and I have to say it really does suit this AMG GT3.
Absolutely, but you can see the overtaking difficulty, and also watch how early David Pichada commits that inside line. I know it's every time he's done it. And is he going to do it again now? No, of course you would. As soon as I mention it, you don't do it. Oh, goodness me. It's like they're listening to me. But, for every single one of the last few laps, last 3 laps at least, I would say, he's gone straight over that defensive line very, very early, which strikes me a bit odd. I'm not quite sure why he's gone that early. And, of course, the minute I mention it is the time he doesn't do it. But I'm not sure why or what benefit he has to going over there early. It's but either way, I mean, he's doing a great rear gunner duty for his brother, who's just like you say, Justin. He's just opening up that gap slightly, few tenths here and there. Yeah, Michael Lehman, he was actually just about joining this particular conga line, but he's now about 1.5 seconds off the back of Martin Sirotech in the 2nd Entropic car. I wonder if everyone's just biding their time at the moment, just seeing how the just seeing how the car feels. Maybe not just wanting to completely banzai, make an unnecessary move. But I would also think that Stefanko has looked like he could possibly challenge for the move, but he doesn't want to be the leader. He wants to be the one in that slipstream to gain a bit of benefit from it. Although in some of these corners, the slipstream won't help them, because some of these medium speed corners, you want the extra downforce that the slipstream takes away from you. Either way, Lucas Pichada's not running off into the distance. He probably feels he doesn't have to. Everyone's just biding their time at the moment, but that doesn't mean this is going to be a processional race. You just got that lovely kind of tension building. It's all going to kick off, I would think, unless someone makes a mistake. It's all going to happen post pit stop.
You can really see the varying lines for the final corner. It's almost similar to Luffield for those that are familiar with Silverstone a little bit more than the Hungaroring, but that final corner is reminiscent anyway of Luffield, and you can see the two different lines. David Pichota going I think it was Mark Webber, if I remember correctly, who liked to do the double apex approach, where you really cut in early, find an apex, let the car run a little bit deep, and then cut back, find the second apex, and you get that really good exit out of the corner. And then I've seen Martin Stefanko just holding that tight inside line and just kind of one long apex at the middle of the corner, rather than that kind of V shape that David Pichota seems to be going for. But that could just have to do with circumstances rather than driving style, because David Pichota might feel that he needs that better exit in order to defend from Martin Stefanko on the start-finish straight, because of course into turn one is going to be the most likely overtaking location. All of these drivers will be thinking of every corner as a possible overtaking location, no doubt about it, but turn one is definitely going to be at the top of their list when they're thinking about options anyway. So I wonder if David Pichota is just using that alternate line coming out of that final corner just to try and defend from Martin Stefanko a little bit. But it is great, I have to say, by the way, great to see Martin Stefanko back in VGP, in Virtual GP. It's been an honor to have him back, and I think potentially more than anyone else on this grid, I think Martin Stefanko might be a real barometer for just how good these drivers are and how they stack up to the sim racers of the world. Because Martin Stefanko is somebody who races in a lot of different series for all sorts of different teams, and has been involved in lots of different competitions and has been competitive in every single one of them. And here he is, struggling to get up into second place. And I think that just perfectly encapsulates just how difficult it is to be successful in VGP these days. The ceiling for talent just keeps getting higher and higher and higher, and I think this 2022 season just highlights how strong the driving is, even compared to seasons past. I mean, VGP has always been fantastic for battling and racing and all that kind of stuff, but it really does seem that we've hit a new plateau here in 2022.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And something else I just do not grow tired of is that beautiful crescendo of those Mercedes-AMG GT3 engines roaring past the camera. Yes. I cannot get tired of that. That is such a glorious noise. As we see this battle for 7th continuing along its merry way, it is still falling off the back. Michael Lehmann's just not quite got the pace of that top 5, technically speaking, as Lucas Pichota is now over 2 seconds ahead of it. It does look like, though, that Thomas Korony, the second of the ESET cars, is really getting close to the back of Thomas Horror in that big shot car. So we may well see a bit of pressure. And there's another example of slightly different lines. Exactly what you were talking about earlier, Justin, about how people taking what was, in that case, was turn 13, the penultimate corner. You saw Thomas Horror take a much, much tighter apex rather than doing, like you say, that V shape of just going out a little bit wide and then cutting back in for a slightly better exit. You're not going to gain a great deal out of turn 13 by adjusting your line, because it's such a short run to turn 14. And there you've got another example of it. It was as Thomas Horror nearly runs out of apex there, and nearly gets onto the grass on the infield. I've seen it done. It doesn't really work very well. I've done it myself in virtual terms, of course. You try and cut an apex a little bit too hard and you end up on the grass. Wow, there's a very big difference. Now there, Thomas Horror was trying to get a better run out of turn 3, and that's an absolutely it's a great idea, but it didn't gain him anything, as Michael Lehmann had the measure of that one, had a very smooth run from turn 3 right the way down to turn 4. But it's good that we're seeing, Martin Neidlich's in trouble. He's pulled off. No, our race winner from last week is out. No, you never want to see it, but we found our first retirement, Martin Neidlich.
Oh no, I have to imagine we're going to get a replay of that and find out exactly what happened, because of course he was in the fight for the win. I know Lucas had pulled out a couple of seconds, but we were eagerly awaiting the pit stop phase coming up at the middle part of this race, where Martin Neidlich could have absolutely pulled a blinder, stayed out a little bit longer. Who knows these cars that are picking up slipstream, they may be lying in wait, saving fuel, trying to do an overcut, because of course the car is very light with fuel when you do that overcut, and Stefanko seems a little bit closer on this run to David Pichota than he has done previously. I wonder if he's going to be a little bit closer this time. There's about 0.3 of a second between the two of them, a couple of car lengths between them as they get down into turn 1. And here's what happened to Martin Nadlik. That's turn 4, and there's nobody near him, so I have to imagine, yep, he gets onto the curbing there between turn 4 and turn 5. And of course, it's a change of direction, isn't it? Because you're turning left coming into 4, and then it's a right going into 5, so it's quite a change of direction. He was on the curbing, and I think that's just what caused the back end to step out. He made contact with that barrier on the left-hand side, what would become the outside of turn 5. And unfortunately for him, that's been significant enough damage that he's felt the need to call it. I'm not sure if I agree with that. I would have preferred to see him get back into the pits, try to do some repairs and see where he comes out. Because who knows? But that's going to be good news for Sheps. Remember before we were saying how 5 retirements could easily bring him back into this? Well, 1 down, 4 to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got to think how well Martin Nadlik did at Daytona. Yes, very different circuit, grant you, but he's yes, there's less turns in Daytona, but it's a very, very different challenge. It's not an easy race, not with this field of drivers, certainly not. And that was the merest of mistakes. It was just a tiny bit too wide, exactly as you say, Justin, just dipped a wheel slightly too far on the edge of the turn 4. I actually disagree with you. We don't normally do this. We normally agree with one another on almost everything. No, I think Martin Nadlik was right to recover his car straight to the pits like that. Oh, really? Stefanko! Oh, yeah, he's looking like he's had enough of staring at the back.
Right?
Of David Pichota. He looks like he's getting ready to go, but that slightly tighter line didn't quite pay off for him on that occasion. Now, I think Martin Nadlik was right to recover his car. He hit the wall really, really hard, and it looked like he hit it on that rear left corner. Oh, both ESET cars are thinking about making a move. That's the other one. That's Thomas Carney thinking about Thomas Horror there. No, coming back to Martin Nadlik, I think he was right to recover the car because he was really struggling to get that thing straight, even on that short few seconds between when he hit the wall and when he tried to rejoin. And it's a very long way home from there, so it was certainly safer, but it would maybe been quicker for him to recover the car.
That's a good point. And yeah, I mean, he's not out of it necessarily. He can still come back on track. So I do apologize if that was confusing at all to the viewers, because yeah, he is still, or he's either in the process of making his way back to the pits right now, or he's in the process of getting his repairs done and all that kind of stuff. So he could potentially come back out. He's definitely going to be down on almost everybody. We'll see whether or not if he's able to continue, if he comes out ahead of Sheps, or if he's done for the day. We'll have to get further details. 2.5 seconds is now the gap between Lucas Pichota and David Pichota. Martin Stefanko still climbing all over the back of that second positioned ERT car as they make their way down towards turn 12. And there is Corney, who again we mentioned was looking very racy behind Hora. Is he going to be looking for a dive bomb into turn 12? He's going to find his way alongside, get the inside line, and I would say that's firm but fair. He said that's my line and pushed him out a little bit there, but I think he had earned it at that stage. He was more than half a car length ahead of Thomas Hora on that one. So that's him up a position and into turn 12. Again, not a typical overtaking location, but certainly he was able to get the job done, and now we can see his true pace. He's got about a second or 9/10 between himself and Michael Lehman, but I will say I don't envy the person that has to try and overtake Michael Lehman, because he is a fierce defender.
Yeah, absolutely, and I also agree that was a fair move from Corney. He'd gotten certainly sufficiently enough to claim that inside line and just ran Thomas Horror out of road. Plenty of runoff there, no harm, no foul. But this pack is getting very, very fidgety. Look how condensed they are. Lucas Pichota now looks like he's going to try and put some moves on Martin Stefanko potentially. Again, the ESET number 98 is looking to try and potentially wrestle that second position from David Pichota. Certainly if Lucas Pichota is going to start to try and put some pressure on Stefanko, you know he's going to then push that pressure forward and try and get past David Pichada. He will not want pressure from behind from the Entropic pair. So Stefanko has now got a decision to make. Does he try and move again on David Pichada, or does he just keep turning the miles until the pit stop phase? Again, these guys know what strategy they're running to. They know what lap they want to come in on. I wouldn't be surprised if they're on a fairly similar idea, but yeah, I think you're also right about the overcut. As soon as someone from this top group pulls the trigger, then those behind will go one more lap and pull the trigger themselves. You'll have one person come in and then a whole pack of them. We will see. Wouldn't be the first time I've been wrong about a pit strategy call, but I think we're going to be seeing that kind of gamemanship this time around.
Look at that last lap. It's about to change, by the way, but it was 19 thousandths of a second was the difference between David Pichada, Martin Stefanko, and Pichada on that, not last lap, but the one before it. 19 thousandths of a second was the difference between all of them. Obviously, they are kind of driving to a delta, and that is the delta of David Pichada, because, yeah, I mean, he's kind of setting the pace. He's kind of dictating the speed of this pack, being at the front of it, but he's still dropping back on Lucas Pichada. It's been about 30 minutes of racing and not even 3 seconds of gap between the two of them, so we're only talking 1 second difference for every 10 minutes of racing that they're doing, so very, very close between the two of them. And look at this, Corny has absolutely flown up to the back of Michael Lehman, and I think he's probably just got that, he's gotten that move done on Thomas Hora, and I think that may have given him a little bit of confidence, and I think he wants that 6th place position now.
Yeah, he's looking, looks like he means business. He doesn't want to just do the miles. He doesn't want to just wait for an opportunity. He looks like he's wants to get on with it and make his opportunity himself. Admittedly, it looks like Thomas Hora may well have lost a little bit of pace, or Michael Lehman and Thomas Corney have just decided to find a bit more pace from somewhere. Yeah, we will see as we come back to this battle for 2nd position coming through turn 13. Anyone looking for the pit lane? I shouldn't think so. We are close to the halfway. Oh, that's a problem. That was Maracek in the big shot car. It was Thomas Hermock.
Oh, he's let him back through, I think.
Yeah, that looked like it was a tiny mistake, but fair play to both of them for sorting that one out. Here we go again. Stefanko's just a tiny bit too far back to try and make a move this time around. Again, we're not 100% sure. Well, it's very, very hard to tell from this off-board angle whether someone is letting off the gas just before they get to a potential braking zone. Yeah. We've seen it before. If people are just minding their own business, utilising that slipstream to their advantage, they could well gain on the car ahead, but they don't. They just back off a little bit, so they're not using as much fuel as they need to make their pit stop shorter. So yeah, that's the idea of what they're going through. You can see now on the tower who's gained and who's lost grid position. Look at Thomas Carney from 12th now up to 7th, as we've just seen from when he made that move. He's now. Oh yeah, he's behind Michael Lehman. Yeah, we saw him make that move on Thomas Hora earlier on. So yeah, big and Hermock as well in the Carvago car now up. Into the top 10. Yeah.
Was it 7 positions? I think it said 7 positions. It said a lot. But yeah, Corny and Hermock seem to be the big gainers in all of this here at the Hungaroring. And it is the first time that we're at the Hungaroring on iRacing as well, which that information just came up at the bottom of the screen there. We use iRacing, but yeah, that's. Oh, is he gonna go? Is he gonna go for it again? He was really starting to get a run there, and I think Corny might have gone for the inside move there had Lehman not actually defended the inside there. You can, and again, you can see Lehman feeling the need to defend in the into the penultimate corner, and I feel like that's potentially just gonna put Corny even closer to the back of him. He didn't feel the need to defend into the final corner there, and he is going to get a fairly decent run. Let's see what Corny can do. He's not picking up much of a slipstream in the first part of the a little bit further up the road. That's Stefanko making the move on David Pichada. He's gone a bit deep into the corner. Slight contact between the two of them. That could be an opportunity for Pichada as well. He's going to switch to the inside line as they descend down into turn 2. Can he get late enough onto the brakes to try and threaten for a podium position? position now. He cannot quite do it. David Pichota takes a slightly wider line, gets the inside line for turn 3, though. Surely that's going to be enough to keep the Entropic car behind for the meantime, but no, he's actually going to look to go side by side as they climb up the hill into turn 4. Surely not around the outside at turn 4. No, it's not worked out for him, and now his teammate is going to become a threat. Sirotech, I think, laying into the brakes there as they get into turn 5 and allowed Podstata to keep that position. I think Sirotech could have been more of a headache to Podstata if he wanted to there, but I think he was doing the gentlemanly thing and allowing Podstata to go for that move for 3rd position without punishing him for it. But great move there from Martin Stefanko. We only kind of caught the end of it there, and as you predicted earlier on, Chris, there was indeed some slight contact in order to make that move happen.
Yeah, I suspect that was, as you said, Justin, I think I was a little bit late on David Pichota. He probably went that tiny bit too deep going into turn 1, and Martin Stefanko just said, yeah, thank you very much. But equally, look at the gap that Stefanko's now got for himself. That's mainly down to David Pichota having to defend from Lucas Podstata. Has someone upset both of the ESET drivers or just aggravated their crew chief or something? Both of them are now really, really hustling hard. Out of nowhere, it seems. But Stefanko's been looming right behind David Pichota for a while. Now this could be a great opportunity for Lucas Podstata to do the same thing. I think we're getting close to pit stop stage now, as David Pichota defending the inside line in a much more kind of traditional manner. We saw him do those defense really, really early in previous laps. He's now defending just at the braking point, keeping the champion behind him, and of course that's allowing Sirotech to stay very much into the slipstream. Yeah, David Pichota had no choice. He had to run that outside line, or more that defensive line through turn 2, because he needed the inside for turn 3. Not that that stopped Lucas Podstata from having to go up into turn 4. I was bracing myself for that to go horribly, horribly wrong. But fair play to both of them for not colliding with one another and sending each other off into the dust. As Eric Vizzi looks like he's into the pits then for Lenovo Legion, bringing his car in for the mandatory stop. As a reminder, it's one mandatory pit stop that all our drivers have to serve to, or he's come straight back out again, unless he had an issue, or I've just caught up with him on the tower quite late. He has been through the pits at some point. There's our leader, the beard emblazoned Lucas Pichota. Now it's going to be an interesting pace comparison between himself and Martin Stefanko. Now the ESET car has been released from that pack, and you can quite clearly see he's not under any pressure, nearly 2 seconds back to David Pichota now. This will be a great graphic. What's the lap time? Now this lap time, look at that. What's that, 100th of a second between them? That's of course last time around when they were still in their various packs. So let's see what it is this time. So that's, well, I mean, bearing in mind that that delta will ebb and flow due to the braking points, so don't pay too much attention to that on its own. Let's see what it is for Lucas. 1:45.0. Oh no, that's just as I was reading it changed. So yeah, Martin Stefanko is definitely meaning business, and Podstata on the inside line coming into turn 1 himself. Can David Pichota hold on to that outside line? That's going to force him to a tight run coming through turn 2. Side by side now. I mean, here is one of the places where it is wide enough to do that, but that's put Podstata slightly out of sync. And again, Sirotech could have aggravated that, but he stayed out of it. And still, David Pichota playing the rear gunner, but he's dropping quite a way back off the top 2. And Podstata knows it. He's looking to try and get past the second ERT car. There's nothing between them. Nearly being shoved along the road outside line at turn 5. Are you mad? No, that's never going to work. But I think that was out of necessity to avoid impact more than anything else, as we now see Brunner and the Navatel team coming to the pits.
Yeah, that was some intense racing. I particularly enjoyed the side-by-side through turn 4. That was probably my favorite bit, because yeah, like you said, very difficult to go side-by-side through turn 4 cleanly. It's so fast and such a narrow circuit. But yeah, they managed to do it. Really impressive stuff. I have to say, I'm really impressed by David Pichota's ability to maintain his position. Also, Michael Lehman still holding on. You could just see at the top of the shot there as they were coming out of turn 11, Michael Lehman just having to defend from Corney. You could see Corney just all over the back of the Mecha Alpha Sim car, and they're going to be is either of them going to be coming into the pits? No, and he's actually feeling the need to go defensive into the final corner, which could be exactly what Corney needs.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised about that. You don't tend to make an outside manoeuvre onto the final turn, but look at that again, an immediate move to that inside line. He can't make the defense again. You cannot do 2 defensive moves. Oh, that was a little risky there. It was very, very late. Ooh. Oh, no! As Thomas Corney hits the back of Michael Lehman, that's brought the big shot car, Thomas Horror, back into that. Has that caused damage? That was a bit of a thump on Thomas Corney. Well, from him, I should say, on Michael Lehman's car. That may have caused a little bit of damage, but you can't blame him for giving it a try, though, as we see another couple of cars come in. There's Maricek and Hermark for Big Shock and Kavaga, respectively, now doing their pit stops. And here we go again. This 3-car conga line hasn't dissipated any. Now, we're used to seeing the LPs in this particular picture-in-picture, aren't we? The Podstarter and other Prachada. Now, this time it's David Prachada that faces off against the lead Entropic driver. But you've got to say he's doing a superb job of just soaking up all the pressure, keeping his cool, and ultimately keeping Podstarter behind him.
Yeah, and I mean, you can tell that there is a pace difference between them. Stefanko now almost 4 seconds adrift of this battle. And again, just as a reminder, obviously the battling that's going on is partially what's allowing Stefanko to pull away as these two head into corners side by side. That's just going to continue to benefit Stefanko. But I think it's clear that David Prachada, he's missing a 10th or 2, isn't he, compared to the likes of Stefanko, Podstarter, and Sirotech. Somehow, he managed to get that incredible start, which I think that alone should be a highlight video, that the start that David Prachada got. And it was that incredible start that allowed his brother to build the gap that he needed as Podstarter finds that inside line. No contact here between the two of them. As Podstarter finds that inside line on him, he's going to have to go to the outside on the run down towards turn 2. I have to say, I really was not expecting a battle to break out. I thought he was just a little bit too far back, but Podstarter making it happen. And again, I have to say, Sirotech has been quite the gentleman. One of the best teammates I think I've ever seen in all of motorsport, because there has been several opportunities where he could have given Podstarter a really, really hard time and potentially forced him to lose that spot. But he knows that Podstarter is quick, and he knows that he's quick as well too. So he's letting his teammate have a go, hoping that he's going to get by quickly. But surely at some point here, if Podstarter doesn't get past at some point, if you're Sirotech, you got to be thinking, well, at least, give me a shot here. But we're coming up to the pit stop phase very shortly here. I mean, the pit stop window is firmly open for them at this stage. So any of these 3 could be coming in at any stage now.
Yeah, we're well past the halfway stage. I'd have thought that people would have been in by now, but I reckon everyone's waiting for somebody else to pull the trigger. They want to do that overcut, but when you're fighting in this kind of pack, it doesn't serve you to wait that long. So are any of them going to come in? No. I also think there's a bit of a setup difference between you say Prachada and I say Podstarter, as I said last time around, but I was talking about the other Prachada that time. I think there's a setup difference. I wonder whether David Prachada's got a little bit less downforce than the Entropic car behind, because he's got enough, just about, to keep the Entropic car behind coming into turn 1, and then you see Podstarter really hustle quite hard through turn 1, where well, at that kind of speed, the downforce isn't being too much utilised. But of course, that's Thomas Horrocks for Big Shark in the pits. That's Thomas Corney trying to get 6th position going through turn 2. I'll try and finish my sentence in a minute. How many times does this happen? I try and say something and something else puts me completely off my stride. No complaints whatsoever, I will add. But yeah, there's a setup difference going on here that's allowing David Prachada just enough to build up enough of a gap to keep Lucas Podstarter behind, but through the rest of the lap, Podstarter just stays absolutely nailed to the back of Prachada. We have no idea what setup differences they do, but that is what I think is keeping David Prachada in it.
Yeah, no, you're right. we try to infer, don't we, as commentators? We try to infer setup differences. It's almost like solving a math equation for a variable. You know, we don't know for sure, but given, you know, all the information available to us, we could try to make an educated guess as to who might have more downforce, who might have less downforce, who might be better in the low-speed corners, the high-speed corners, all that kind of stuff. And you're right. I think you're exactly right. David Pichada seems to be set up for straight-line speed, and he's going to come into the pits as well, and so is Siratek. Podstata stays out, which he often does, doesn't he? We often see Podstata doing the overcut. And Stefanko is also staying out. Now, that's something we don't usually see. Oftentimes, we tend to see Stefanko come in at the same time as the car ahead. So I'm a little bit surprised about that one, but it's a welcome sight to see Stefanko staying out. And this is what happened between Lehman and Corny. Oh, yeah.
That'll do it.
Yep, just a bit of oversteer coming into that final corner, but very well held by Michael Lehman to not lose the back end. I mean, we saw earlier on with Urbanchik just how easy it is to lose the back end just driving around at this course. So very, very well held that he didn't lose another position. And I have to say, that overtake from Corny really was a matter of when and not if, because he just seemed to have that little bit of extra pace. Lehman is an incredible competitor, but it just seems that maybe at the Hungaroring, maybe not his best track. Unfortunately, we can't actually ask him how he feels about the Hungaroring, but something tells me it's not his strongest circuit. We've definitely seen him go better at other places. So, yeah, potentially. And in fact, I mean, he's not that far ahead of Thomas Hora. And now that Hora's got a new set of boots, or will have a new set of boots, that could reignite that rivalry potentially as well. So, will we see Stefanko and Podstata into the pits this lap? I would say probably. There's a very good opportunity. Yep, Stefanko is going to come in. Let's see if the 2021 champion follows him in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was also watching the time gap between Stefanko and Lucas Pichada, and it was dropping quick. It was really, really coming down heavy. So very, very interested to see how they shake out. And yet, Podstarter did indeed follow Martin Stefanko. Thomas Corny is also coming as well. So both UTEC cars are now in. So Lucas Pichada will take over the lead again, but by what margin? It was around. It was down to about 2.5 seconds, give or take, before Lucas Pichada came in. So, oh, there's Stefanko. Now he's going to lose the lead, but he's going to be right on Pichada's case. Oh, I wasn't expecting it to be that close. Struth. I did think it would be closer, but nearly hitting one another coming through turn one. Oh, it is on for the race victory. Might Stefanko, at long last, be back on that top spot, or will Lucas Pichada have what it takes to fend off the ESET Maestro?
I don't envy either of them in this scenario. I would hate to have to pressure Lucas Pichada for a race win after he just missed out on that 2021 championship. I think it's really lit a fire in him, and I think that may potentially explain the difference in pace. And here's what happened to Lucas Podstata as he was coming out of the pits side by side with David Pichada. And did he go over the white line there? Oh, it's so marginal between the two of them. I definitely wouldn't penalize him for that one, because I think he was trying to be as close within the lines as he could without making contact with David Pichada. They're still side by side after the pit exit, surely with the inside line into turn two. That will be enough for Podstata, and it is indeed. He kind of parks it on the apex there, covers off any sort of potential undercut at the exit of the corner, and is able to hold on to that position. But yeah, the real story here, though, definitely Stefanko right up to the back of Lucas Pichada. Not that much time remaining, though, because, again, the pit stops were so late, and we've seen how difficult it is to overtake here. And specifically, we've seen how difficult it was for Stefanko to overtake before. I think he might have a high downforce setup. Here's Bruna around the outside at turn 12 on Hermack. That's not quite worked out for him. Hermack holds on to that 10th place position. He's having another great day, is Hermack. One of the standout rookies of this season, I would say, so far after almost 3 rounds completed. It looks like he is just about going to hold on to that top 10 from Jan Bruna, but I don't know if he's going to be able to as they get to the end of the start-finish straight. Bit of weaving going on, a lot of weaving going on. He's not quite up to the back of him yet. If the stewards have anything to say about that, they will definitely let him know. But yeah, I think he was just trying a little too hard to break the toe. Not sure how successful that really was with that amount of weaving. So he may have just slowed himself down more by just applying more lateral friction to the tires than anything else. So yeah, I'm not sure if that was successful, but rejoining the battle for the lead, Stefanko still on the back of him. Again, I hypothesize, though, Stefanko might be on a high downforce setup. I'm not so sure he has the straight line speed to make it happen.
You could well be right, and that would explain how he was able to really eat into that gap between himself and Lucas Pichada before the pit stops. We will see. Oh yeah, if I was going to have to put money on the line, I reckon Lucas is going to hold on to it, but only just. I think it is going to be it's going to be very difficult for him to do, but I reckon Lucas Pichada's just got enough in the tank to keep Martin Stefanko at bay. I mean, we aren't favourites at all. I'm just judging on what I can see. Also, where on earth has David Pichada gone?
Yeah.
He was right with Podstata as he came out of the pit, and he's now, what, nearly 2 seconds behind Siratek in 5th. He's actually been caught by Thomas Carney, so both the ESEC cars could well be in the top 5 at this rate. I wonder what on earth happened to David Pichada. I mean, we saw that there was no impact between himself and Lucas Podstata, so I'm assuming somewhere along the line David Pichada has made a mistake.
I have to assume that as well. Now, the other thing is, though, he came in at the same time as Sirotech, didn't he? Sirotech and David Pichada both came in right around at the same time. I believe David Pichada was the leading car in that. But yeah, there's now a 5-second gap between Podstata and Sirotech as well. So I think David Pichada lost out the most out of everybody in the pit stop phase. Sirotech also seemingly lost out in the pit stop phase. Lucas Pichada also lost out in the pit stop phase. Your big winners in the pit stop phase were the 2 cars that did the overcut, Stefanko and Podstata. But no, you're right. David Pichada, like I said, was ahead of Sirotech coming into the pit, so something extra has happened to him as well. But it really does seem that that extra lap on that first stint with the low fuel has paid serious dividends for 2 of the podium holders at the moment.
Absolutely. Hermach and Bruna having a great old scrap here for the last of the top 10 spots, as well as Vizzy and Marashek right behind. So, of course, well as these 2. So still 0.3 of a second between them, as Stefanko just can't quite get alongside David Pichada at Lucas Pichada at the moment, unless he's biding his time. Now, he's shown that he's got the pace to catch up to Lucas Pichada. Oh, they're at it again. Mark and Bruna, that's down at turn 12 again. Now, Stefanko knows he's got the pace to at least keep up with Lucas Pichada, so he might be waiting until the very, very last opportunity because, again, coming back to that setup difference, if Stefanko is running a higher downforce setup, he will be an absolute sitting duck on the start-finish straight. Although the actual finish line would probably come up in time, as it's quite a long way down from where we're looking at the moment, as we see Eric Vizzy dancing around, keeping Marashek behind him. You don't want to take that risk. Martin Stefanko will want to get the move done and put Lucas Pichada in a position where he cannot come back at him. But oh yeah, that's going to be a hard one, and that's going to go right the way down to the flag, which is only 8 minutes away. Yeah, we are rapidly approaching the end of this 3rd round of the 2022 Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP season. And this will mark, when this race is completed, I believe this will mark the halfway point of the GT3 portion of the season as well. We'll be halfway through. Oh, that's a huge mistake at the entrance of turn 5 for Hermach. Well, it didn't seem huge anyway, but it was enough of a mistake for Bruna to just sneak up the inside. But oh, he goes a bit deep into the chicane. Surely there's not enough run down towards turn 8, though, for Hermach to think about making a move there. No, indeed. He hangs back for the meantime. But yeah, very nearly gave that position back to Hermach coming into that chicane.
And there we go, Martin Stefanko for the lead. He finds the inside line at turn 1. Again, slight contact between the two of them, and Stefanko is gesticulating. He's not happy about that contact between the two of them. Lucas Pichota, though, drops down to second position with 7 minutes remaining. I have to say, I am surprised about that one. I did not think Stefanko had the straight line speed to make that happen, but Lucas Pichota seemingly just does not have the raw race pace to match what Stefanko has brought here today, and the one-time VGP champion is well and truly back. It really didn't take long, did it, at all? 3 races into the season, and Stefanko leads the way.
Well, yeah, that's caught me by surprise. I didn't think he would do it then, but it could be that he was capitalizing on Lucas Pichota's mistake, if there was one. As we caught that one right as it was happening, as the two cars were side by side. It could be that Lucas Pichota may have braked a little bit early and gave Stefanko the opportunity to dive on the inside. Bit of impact, but nothing major. But Stefanko's got to absolutely nail it and try and minimize the amount of slipstream that Lucas Pichota can gain. He's right on the cusp. If my assumption of around 0.8 of a second is right, he's right there, and if he is running higher downforce, he's in a prime opportunity to be able to build that gap. Let's see what happened then. Yeah, standard thing. They've been about 2 to 3/10 of a second apart, and there. So either that was, like I said, Lucas Pichota just braking a little bit early. A flash of the lights from Lucas Pichota. He wasn't happy about that, but from that angle, it looked like Lucas went into the side of Martin rather than the other way round. But difficult to tell from that particular angle.
There was definitely contact between the two of them, and Stefanko definitely took the racing line. The question, I think, is whether or not Stefanko would have, exited the corner still on the track if not for the contact between the two of them. But yeah, I have to agree with you. I think that's, kind of a racing incident between the two of them. I don't think necessarily one driver is to blame on that one. Stefanko was so late on those brakes. You could see him just wait that extra moment, you could see the nose dip down on Lucas Pichota's ERT car. And then the moment the nose dips down, you see Stefanko move to the right, and then just that moment later, he goes onto the brakes. He gets up that inside line. I think he would have made the corner without the contact between the two of them, but I don't know if Lucas Pichota feels the same way. He may feel that he was, that his car allowed Stefanko to slow down enough in order to make the corner. If he hadn't been there, Stefanko wouldn't have made the corner, and therefore, he kind of used him to make the corner. But I don't necessarily know if that's the case. Wow, did you see the back of Marichek's car? By the way, it looks like he has seen some stuff, or at least the back end of Marichek's car has seen some stuff, because there is definitely some scratches going on there. The Big Shock logo is no longer visible whatsoever on the rear bumper of that car. So yeah, definitely been an exciting race for him. I wanted to give a shout out to Krejci, by the way, because Krejci has been having a really solid run inside the top 10. Both Mecha Ultra Sims inside the top 10 here today at Hungary, but Krejci has been having just about the loneliest race I think I've ever seen. He has absolutely enormous gaps front and rear, but he's probably going to be picking up solid points, so I'm sure he's not going to be complaining too much about that. Speaking of Mecha Ultra Sim, Michael Lehman is still leading the way on Thomas Hora. But I have a feeling Thomas Hora is keen to pick up those extra points. But remember, he's one of those drivers who I would really like to see some consistency from him. So if he's going to send it for P7 here, I do hope that he does it cautiously and doesn't take himself out or anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming back to the overtake between Stefanko and Lucas Pichota, I agree with you. I don't really think that Lucas Pichota aided in Michael Stefanko slowing down. I think the ESET car had that inside line. He wasn't going to fly off the road. If he was that hot into turn 1, they both would have gone off at the angle that Stefanko had to take that, because he outbraked Lucas Pichota. In the heat of the battle, Lucas may well feel a little bit aggrieved, although they're now right back with one another again. They were around about 8 to 9 tenths apart. That's really ebbing and flowing with only 2.5 minutes to go, so that battle is not concluded yet. But yeah, I think Stefanko just was very assertive. That is my line, and Lucas Pichada didn't anticipate that Stefanko was going to take it quite the way he did, and unfortunately the ERT, well, the championship leader, just then turned it a little bit too hot and bounced off the side of the ESET car. That's what it looked like to me, but he despite the fact of who drove into who, I don't think Stefanko was in any danger of flying off the road. He had that one. He had that one decided. Although Thomas Horror is really not wanting to let Michael Lehman go. We saw that brilliant progress from Michael Lehman earlier on to put him right up into 7th. Although Thomas Carney was the one that was really making the moves early on. Is he going to catch David Pichada before the end of the race? Not quite, I don't think. Not unless David has another problem. But fair play to Thomas Carney. He's really done well to get up into 6th position. But, I mean, if you want to nominate a driver of the day, you can't look too far away from Stefanko. He's that start from David. If David Pichada stayed in the podium positions, I would have absolutely given driver of the day to him for that start alone.
Yes,
and then all the defending he did from Pudstarter and from Stefanko for as long as he did.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. David Pichada is a solid contender for driver of the day, purely for that alone, because, I mean, who knows? I mean, if he had stayed out a little bit longer, who knows? Maybe he could have kept Stefanko back. I think they were running out of fuel anyway. But basically, he did everything he could to help out Lucas, and unfortunately, it just wasn't quite enough. But I think potentially the race would have been decided a lot sooner if not for David Pichada. Also, I've noticed, by the way, the top 3 and the next 3 are reversed. So the top 3 is ESET, ERT, Entropic, and then you have Entropic, ERT, ESET, which means I have no idea who is going to score the most points in this. I think it might be ESET who scores the most out of all this, just purely because Stefanko is leading. But then again, you know, you've got the 2 ERT, so it's, but again, all 3 of them are going to be scoring really similar levels of points. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So great news for the team championship, no doubt about it. We're into the final lap now. Let's see, Hora is potentially going to be making a move on Lehman. Yeah, he's going to move to the right-hand side. I think he's a little bit too far back. I don't think he's got the late braking on him that Stefanko had going into turn 1, and he's going to have to hang back for the meantime. But Lucas Pichada has since dropped back a little bit further. I think you're right. I think he made another kind of bid for the lead. He got that gap down to about half a second or so, but clearly Stefanko has responded. He's got 1 lap fresher tires as well. That could be playing a minor role. You know, when you're this close in performance to your competitors, even 1 lap fresher tires can be enough. Oh, look at that. Thomas Hora through turn 4, very, very close to the back of Michael Lehman. He's going to look to go around the outside. As you said earlier, not really likely to work around there. It's very difficult to go around the outside of turn 5. Nearly runs into the back of Michael Lehman as they get into the braking zone. I wonder if Michael Lehman maybe is low on fuel at this stage, because the way that Hora is just all over the back of him, it makes me think that Michael Lehman may potentially be low on fuel and is conserving and doing his best, but it doesn't matter. Up at the front, it is the return of Martin Stefanko in the ESET team. A different team this year, but it's still the same old Martin Stefanko. He wins ahead of Lucas Pichada in the ERT racing team. Pudstarter for Entropic in the final podium position. The 2021 champion, showing that he still has plenty of pace. He's a ways off the leading pair, but he's going to be comfortably ahead of David Pichada, Sirotech, and Korony. And it looks like, did somebody have a penalty there? Potentially. David Pichada has moved up to 4th position in all of that.
Yeah, he crossed the line ahead of Sirotech. So on the last lap, he actually got the second Entropic car. You've broken the reversing rules, David Pichada.
Which means I think ERT now may be the team that scores the most potentially. We'll have to get confirmation on that. But Bruno rounds the corner for a very well-deserved top 10, by the way. Possibly had one of the most hectic races, thanks to Hermach, who takes home 11th. Vizzy from pretty much last all the way up to 12th position. What a recovery drive for Eric Vizzy to score valuable points for Lenovo Legion, especially with Nadlik not scoring at all today, unfortunately. So that's great news for him. And then Shambera crossing the line for the final championship point. Stepanovsky just outside the points. As I said, he does tend to go well in the race. He always seems to find positions. Unfortunately, he's not going to find any points this time, but he was very, very close, and Kiesel is going to round the final corner.
Well, a podium that was a great talking point, as Martin Stefenko takes the top spot, Lucas Pachada second with a pod starter in third. Great effort there from the champion. David Pachada fourth, Martin Siratek fifth, Thomas Korony sixth. Great effort for him from 12th on the grid up to sixth position. Michael Lehman seventh, Thomas Horror eight, Martin Crater nine, and Jan Brunner, excellent effort. They finished inside the top 10. Peter Hermog 11, Pavel Maracek 12, Miroslav Svoboda 13, Michael Stembera 14. Audrey Stepanovsky actually picking up the final point. I think there's been a penalty there, so because he looked like he was finishing 16th on our screen. So Stepanovsky didn't get that final point. Lucas Pachada at the top spot of the championship. But look at that, Martin Nadley, through not scoring, look at that, falls all the way down to 5th place. Oof. As a result of it. Struth alive. That's how quickly it ebb and flows this early in the championship. Oh, but there's a new contender to the top throne, Stefenko, making Pachada work for it. And again, lots of fighting throughout the field is what we love to see here at VGP.
Only one driver yet to score so far. Pavel Scheps his day will come, no doubt. And I think it was Vizzy that picked up the penalty, by the way, because I saw him in 12th. But ERT still leading the way. Let's see, that is 26 points ahead of ESET, and Entropic moves ahead after Nadlik failed to score any points there. And of course, with both Entropic cars finishing inside the top 5, that is going to move them up in the team's championship. Big thank you to Chris Buxton for joining myself, Justin Sutton, for the commentary today. Big thanks to all of the drivers, everybody who tuned in at home, and everybody behind the scenes taking care of the races. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.